Alrighty, so I think I have it lined up pretty good. Um, I have some cards pre-pulled, and I'm just gonna go through them here super quick. Take a sip. Alright, so then we got the Six of Swords, came out in the reverse, and that is paired with Disappointment, which also came out in the reverse, Five of Cups. Oh, and we're using, this is always really confusing what this deck's name is, but I think it's Astral Tarot in Space, and the Urban Tarot, and I might be using another deck. Well, yeah, I think I definitely am. I'm just not sure which deck I'm going to use yet for further clarification. So I don't really have, I don't really do spreads. I don't really sit there and be like, what's the forecast for, you know, next week and all that good stuff. I just kind of, call in anyone or anything that would like to come in and communicate with love and light for all beings that are involved, meaning right now me and anyone else that might be watching this or listening to this now, or the many potential nows in the quote-unquote unfuture. Did I just say unfuture? I meant future. That was interesting. um, I'm not even sure what I'm going to call this reading, but anyway, so this particular Six of Swords, even though it's in the reverse, for me, I just feel like it doesn't matter if it's in the upright or the reverse, the same thing is happening. I do, every time I look at this card, because she is so pale looking, and even though her hand's on her chest, like I almost wonder, is this like a dead body floating in the water? I get that like kind of like lifeless feeling. But in any case, what she's doing is moving from a darker place to a lighter place. But because this card is in the reverse, I don't really look at it as it being like darker as being a negative. I look at it more like, in the beginning, they say that everything started from a big bang, which may or may not be true. That's just a theory. It seems to hold up with with other theories, shall we say. But the way I see it is, in the beginning there was nothing, and then suddenly there was something else other than nothing. And that's when nothing became conscious and aware of itself. So I feel like this is talking about coming from that place of, like, this is your journey through your growth and expansion. And ironically enough, you came from the biggest, broadest thing that you could ever be or could ever even try to imagine. And you're moving more and more you're going towards a place where you're confining yourself and almost bringing, like, trying, like, that's how black holes are created. The material is bogged down and collapses in on itself because it's so heavy that it becomes a black hole, which in essence is literally the beginning and the ending of where you come from and where you're going. So I feel like this is talking about how we came to this 3D plane and we fractalized ourselves into many different fractals, because we were too great to try and take all of what we were, rather are, and bog it down and compact it into something more dense without it turning back into what we are. We had to lose bits and pieces of ourselves temporarily so that we can have this 3D experience. Um, or that's so confusing when you use the D's, 3D, 4D, 5D. But so that we can have this fractalized perspective experience. And right now, this Six of Swords, she's in a state of allowance. She is, whether alive or dead is irrelevant. She is. She exists, and there's either an existence. There either is or there's nothing. It's just and it's always a temporary state of being because time isn't really a thing. So if you find that you are dead, what does it matter? What does that even mean when you're eternal? I mean, honestly. So I kind of just went off on a tangent on that, which I tend to do a lot, but I feel like with this being accompanied with the Five of Cups in reverse, which is denoted as disappointment, it's saying that it wasn't a disappointment at all. This journey, this fractalized journey that you're having, was epic and bloody and raw, but at the same time beautiful and fragile and surprising, and just as much there's pain, of course, but what is pain to a being that has never felt anything? It's an experience. And it's an experience worth having. But again, this card is in the reverse, so this is talking about not being disappointed at all. I'm sorry, this instrumental song that's on right now that's supposed to be non-copyrighted music, it does say One Wish, Ray J. Okay. That's really annoying. I hope this doesn't get took down. Ugh, that's so annoying. I don't care. Anyway. We just skip past that point, or that song. So I guess now would be an appropriate time to pull some cards, so we'll just pull some cards. I just grabbed the first deck that I just reached for, and it's the Light Seers Tarot. Alright, so I don't even know why I have these out. So I knocked twice to clear out any old energy that might be lingering from the last time I used these cards. And I'm just going to use, this is the first one that stood out to me just to kind of help funnel my energy into the cards here. Just bear with me because I didn't do this beforehand. I don't know. I just heard this is going to be painful. This is going to hurt. I don't know what that was. I knocked 3 times to say hello. And I'm just going to shuffle these quick. So I'm just going to move these out the way. Oh, they don't want to be shuffled anymore. Okay. Right. So, can you please tell me more about the Six of Swords and the Five of Cups in reverse here together, please? This is going to be painful, but you love it. I don't know why that just popped in my head, but I'm going to say it because it popped in my head. So, look at that. Like, I wanted to know more about this, but the Six of Cups fell upside down on the Six of Cups from a different deck. I swear that happens like every time I use multiple decks, the other card will pop out in the opposite, like in the reverse, and I'm like, ah, why are you doing that? You're trying to confuse me. Stop it. Okay, but it fell there, but that's just because that's where my hands were, so we're just gonna not put too much salt into that because it's a small space, it's a small table. So, so this is the Six of Cups in reverse in the Light Sears Tarot. And oh, yeah, Six of Swords, Six of Cups. Oh. So look, remember how I said it's like going from all that you were, or all of you, you're coming from that and compacting yourself, but you had to like fractalize yourself in order to be able to compact yourself, or else you just go back to what you were, because it's too much. Here is a person and the dog that have they're adults and they've aged and they've had experiences and they've expanded and they've grown. But it's like going back to a younger time when they knew less. And this kind of like, this looks like a nebula situation, right? It looks like, because like this looks like she could be headed to maybe like a planet or a nebula or something. And this looks like a nebula back here, but it looks like you're like in it. So I just got the message that the fractalization that happens isn't like you're born and you grow up type of thing. It's more like you just blip into existence on certain timelines. So the young you and the old you, whoa, okay, calm yourself. The young you and the old you are happening simultaneously, and they're connected. And that's why, like, even though this card is in the reverse, it's pretty raw looking and painful looking in the reverse, just the same. but it depends on the perspective of it, because if it's something that you never experienced, you don't know how to judge it other than understanding that it's something you never experienced and then trying to make sense of it. And you reach out to your other fractals in times of trying to make sense of what's currently happening, because the information exists within you because it exists within them. And even though you don't have those experiences, you know innately whether something feels good or doesn't feel good, or is productive or non-productive, or is painful or joyful, because you're ever connected to source, and source is everything and knows everything and is experiencing everything simultaneously through us, through its fractals, feeding back into each other, back and forth, back and forth. That's very interesting. So the next card we have out is the Knight of Wands in reverse. And I'm just going to show this in the upright because there's a lot going on. So it is literally an armored knight in riding a space dragon in outer space. And again, it looks like it's a nebula of sorts, right? It's more than just planets in a solar system. This looks like a birthplace. A birthplace. It's funny because when I laid out these cards initially, I looked over them, got a feel for them, got an understanding, and then I went to record and I'm pulling new cards. And like, I literally got like 3 different messages out of this. It's like before I started recording was the message for me, and now that I'm recording, it's like a whole different, completely, like totally different message, which is fucking beautiful and amazing, and I just love it. Like, this kind of stuff, like when you get in touch with the part of you that you don't need any directions for, and you don't need anyone to tell you what's up, what's down, what's right, what's wrong, when you don't look to anything outside of yourself for direction and understanding, and you literally just go at it, it literally blows my mind every single time. And that's what this is. Like, it's never the same, because that was a different now. Like when I was looking at it and I pulled it when I was just by myself, that was that now. And even though it's the exact same cards, like a whole other message is coming out because it's a different now. And that brings me to the last card here. It's the Eight of Swords, which is called Interference in this deck. Like, look at the interweaving and all that stuff going on. This is talking about jumping timelines, and that's literally what we do all the time, every now. We just don't realize it because it's seamless, because why would, if this is a created reality, because we're fractalizing ourselves to be here to experience this, why would we expect anything to not seem real and to not seem amazing and to not be totally immersive? Why would, like, God is just as we are. And as a beloved friend of mine, Roxy Sweetheart, says, we're not half-ass creators. Why would we create a reality that we would think is fake? And again, I'm going off on a tangent, but so we have the Knight of Wands here in the reverse, paired with the Queen of Swords, the Painter. Now in this deck, the suit cards, they usually combine two different elements. Sometimes it's two of the same element depending on where they fall in the deck. This particular queen embodies water and air, which honestly is me to a T. Even though I'm an earth sign, my sun sign is a Virgo, I have a lot of water and air in my chart, and I have a lot of strong aspects in water and a lot of air overall. So I completely relate to this Queen of Swords, and I'm a painter. Um, Painter, I draw, and all that artsy stuff, which is the reason why I do not own a single traditional tarot deck. There's no reason. I'm all about visualization, and I cannot get down with the basic decks. I need inspiration. Again, going off on a tangent. Anyway, so with the Knight of Wands being in the reverse, with the suit cards, it's usually talking about somebody, or representative of a situation that you're either currently dealing with or maybe dealing with soon. Same thing with people, somebody that's currently in your life or maybe in your life soon. But I kind of feel like that's really up in the air, Queen of Swords right now, because that's in the reverse. And honestly, when I first looked at these cards, the first thing that popped in my head was like, she's making a painting here and she's thinking, and the lights just shining down on her and she's getting these downloads. Well, okay, this part is different. So, when they talk about light traveling, when we look at the stars, some of the stars that we see technically aren't even there anymore because of the speed of light. So it's like she's thinking of something to draw, and I feel like this is what she's seeing in her mind. And maybe she's even seeing it in the reverse because she can't make complete sense of it. It's like something that happened deep in the cosmos, and God knows what reality and God knows what timeline. And she's getting a glimpse of it, and she's creating some type of artwork as a result of it. So I feel like this is talking about, well, clearly the Knight of Wands is all about passion and quick move forward movements. So this isn't necessarily about moving in any direction. It is about movement, but it's not like a physical movement. I think it's more like a movement of information, getting a download, and then you translating it the way that you can best interpret it. And this card also talks about, not only having a lot of passion, but now again, this would be in the upright about moving into a place of great opposition. But with it being in the reverse, I feel like this is saying there's absolutely no oppositions in your way. And that has to do with the allowance that you're allowing to happen. You're accepting it for what it is and not really thinking too hard about it, just letting it flow, which is, light. The sunlight gives us important vitamins and minerals. Well, I don't know about minerals, but yeah, important vitamins that we need. Some cultures have this practice of watching the sun rise and set, and it's supposed to, enhance. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think back right now, like opening up your third eye, being more connected with the universe, and supposed to activate your pineal gland and things like that. So this all greatly depends on your perspective of the information that you're receiving, and you're constantly receiving downloads. And you're going to take it with the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is all about communication, but she's very analytical, and with it being combined with water element here, it's like all encompassing. So you're taking it all in. Whereas fire, like that's represented in the Knight of Wands here in reverse. Okay, so fire can get out of control. We've all seen, wildfires and stuff get really out of control. But it starts very precise from a single point. But like air and water literally envelop everything that is around it. And it could create great destruction and change the physical makeup of whatever it's coming into contact with after some time has passed, or if there are elements of force, like for example, a hurricane. But that doesn't really change the chemical makeup of things. Fire, when you burn something, it changes it down to the atoms. Where again, that will happen with air and water, but it's a slower process. And I feel like it's a slower process because they need to take in like every little grain, every little fine detail, every aspect of it. Where fire is like a hunger that can never be sated, and is frantic with its need for fulfillment. Where air and water, there isn't that lack involved in it. And again, the Knight of Wands is in reverse. So I feel like this is saying that there is a good balance here, with what's going on. And I don't feel like this is talking about anybody coming in or out of your life or a situation that you might be dealing with. I feel like this is talking about your growth and expansion. Like, you have passion, but it doesn't have to be all consuming, and it doesn't have to be the end all be all. When all you have is passion, you run into your first obstacle and then you think you're a failure and you give up. But when you have perseverance and you have a logical point of view and you have a great wealth of knowledge and you take your time and really just, you don't force things, you flow with things. Like here, it might not be immediate, but the results are what you were working towards. Where fire, it could just be complete destruction. You could give in to things that, maybe you're trying to, bad habits or things that you're trying to get out of the habit of doing, trying to be more healthy, and then all of a sudden you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna give in to it. Yeah, so I'm gonna pull another card here. So I'm just getting a lot with this. And I also feel like this is also talking about like what you're creating. Like, do you want to destroy or do you want to create? I mean, nothing ever stays the same. Eventually it's going to change. But I mean, moving at the speed of light, I guess you don't really know what your experience might be, because, fire is embodying the light destruction, or not light destruction, but the power of how fast light moves is physically contained in the fire in a concentrated area, which is what will happen if you shine light through a magnifying glass. it concentrates light into an area and it creates fire. So can you tell me more about the Knight of Wands and the Queen of Swords, please? Really, a card does not want to come out. Please tell me more about these two cards. Oh my gosh, seriously, so impatient. Okay, I'm being told to pick a card because it doesn't want to give me a card because it was saying it was fully explained. So we got the Ace of Swords. Oh, see, this card doesn't even want to be here. Got the Ace of Swords in reverse. So look, if I put this in the middle here, again, I feel like I'm reminded of this. Like you sending information to another fractal and vice versa. I see the connection of the light. But I think with the Ace of Swords in reverse, this is talking about needing to be a little more open-minded and needing to loosen up the reins a little bit, because the Queen of Swords is very much in control of herself, and she's able to approach any situation with ease because she's completely confident in herself and her abilities, because she's strong and she speaks the truth and she's the embodiment of truth, so that she knows that that will not fail her. But with the Knight of Wands in reverse and the Ace of Swords in reverse, I feel like this is saying that you have to mix in some of that passion, or it's going to dilute the downloads that you are getting, the information that you are receiving. Yeah, I mean, this is all about finding a balance within yourself, because if we are everything, then we are all elements. We all have aspects of earth, air, fire, and water. We're all little avatars. And we have to go out and explore. We can't just sit around and reach within the recesses of our minds and maybe the psychic abilities and find the inspiration through those avenues. I mean, you can, but ultimately you're creating a boundary and block and putting up a wall for an experience which will lead to further growth and expansion, which is the point of existence. People always say, what is the point? What is my life? Or not, people always say a lie. I hear people always kind of have that need and that earning and that want to say, what is the purpose of life? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? You're supposed to do whatever the fuck you want to do. There are no mistakes. Even when you think you've made a mistake, it's just you jumping timelines. And if you try to jump timelines from a point where you're really like in a low vibrational place, you can only go to other places that are vibrationally match your vibration. So if you're down here on the sword You can't just be like, oh, I want to be here and be there, because you won't even be able to envision up here, because all that you exist in is down here. If you're able to do that, I mean, and you are, you've found and reached some type of balance and understanding and knowledge within you, and with the universe and how it all flows together. Um, yeah, so I'm going to go on to the next. So next we have the Ace of Pentacles in reverse, and the Six of Cups, which is pleasure in this deck, in the upright. So again, I see another nebula. I feel like this is talking about almost like the universal, like, you know, they have, they depict Gaia, Mother Earth. The Empress card usually embodies that. I feel like this is like almost like the Empress version of, like, but from the universal standpoint. And it's in the reverse. And it's paired with this card, which in this deck clearly is indicative of sex. Not just any sex, but like deep, passionate sex where you're intimately connected on a personal and emotional level, not just physical. So I don't feel like this card talks about offering you many opportunities for abundance and growth, but it's in the reverse. So I feel like what this is saying is, this is like in your God state, I guess you can say. You can see every possibility. You can experience every possibility as an observer, in essence, but you can never truly experience it as the fractal does unless you bring yourself down to that level. And like all of those colors and dots, and even the gas, those are planets and stars that haven't been formed yet, with the potential to be formed. Those are all the bajillion, trillion, fulfillion different timelines that there are. And that's just the human consciousness. There's whole other races, and by races I don't mean animals, of other consciousnesses and potential timelines and all that stuff that are available to you. But here, in the land of humanity, this is just but one timeline here. And I feel like if this was in the reverse, or in the upright, it would be like saying like how you picked one instead of experiencing all of it. Your focus is on this one currently, in this now. But again, just like here and like here, this is just between, it's just making it simple, showing like two, but you also have the ability of like going back to this state and seeing it all. Again, I'm reminded when I close my eyes and I'm just before the in-between state of drifting into sleep and awake, I see a black wall. Sometimes it's black, sometimes there's colors involved, but it's just like a wall of 2D bubbles. um, it's your higher self. And because it's in the reverse doesn't mean it's negative. Um, that sounds really loud to me. I don't know if that's loud. So, okay. Other information I got from this card was, besides the obvious factors of there being wine and there's some kind of partying and drinking going on, and this is potentially a married couple. It could be that they're married to other people, but there's rings on their hands and they're in the thralls of some kind of passionate exchange. But what I really got from this is, now don't take this like I'm trying to say something about race here. I'm just talking about the color, like the actual color. Like, there's pink, there's purple, there's red, there's blue, and there's black and there's white. There are darker colors and there are lighter colors because they contrast, okay? So the first thing not the first thing, but one of the messages I got when I looked at this card is talking about the population. I feel like I need to change this song. Okay. Is it not copyrighted if it just has the instrumental? Is that what it is? I don't know. Fuck it. Excuse me. Um so getting distracted. There is a lot more. This is clearly a man's hand and this is a woman's hand, or it appears to be a woman's hand. Can't really tell. But what you can tell is that the hand on the bottom is a deeper, darker color and is bigger than the hand on top, which is a lighter color and is smaller. But the hand on top is the one that's controlling the bigger, darker hand on the bottom. So I feel like, and I feel like the darker hand is reaching for. Okay, I'm just gonna change it because that's distracting. Is reaching for these glasses of alcohol. So right away I get in my head talking about, um, you know, bad habits, maybe unhealthy habits, trying to, yearning and wanting things that aren't healthy for you, and something in you, the light part of that's in you, keeps it at bay. Might have something to do with addiction, but I don't really believe in addiction per se, because that's giving your sovereignty and power as a god over to something outside of you, and I don't agree with that at all. You can do that if you choose to do that, but I don't believe that that's the only path, that that's the end all be all. It's a choice if you decide to say that you're powerless against a situation or substance or whatever. You can acknowledge that there might be things happening around you and in your life that you absolutely don't like and you don't agree with, and you don't know why you continue to engage in it. But to say that you have no power over it is a lie. The power is always yours. So I'm not saying that addiction isn't a real thing. It absolutely is a real thing, but the only reason it's a real thing is because the people that are in the thralls of addiction have decided that that's what it is. And that's it. And it's not wrong, it's not right. That's their choice. I also feel like this card is talking about reflecting the universal aspect of it, that there seems to be a lot of, right now, a lot of negativity going on, a lot of things that people would consider bad or hurtful or harmful. There's a lot of people feeling like they need to take sides. There's a lot of people that are just feeling like they're in opposition with other people because they're not the same skin color, and they were raised differently and they were brought up differently, and they feel like on either end of the spectrum they can never understand where they're coming from because they don't look exactly like them and they didn't live exactly like them. And of course there's absolute truth in that, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that they don't know that pain and that adversity just because they don't match exactly as they do, because every single person is an individual and every single person is different, no matter what the spectrum of color your skin contains, and no matter what the spectrum of your reality was while you were brought up. The fact of the matter is we all chose to come here and be here in this now, and we all chose to be exactly who we are in this now because we wanted to experience those things. And as far as the light and dark goes, as far as the negative and positive goes, you need very little positive to keep the negative at bay. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that perspective because the negative seems so much bigger, and therefore we automatically associate it with being greater and stronger. But it's not. The light will always, always prevail over the dark. Because in the beginning, that's all there was nothing. And then suddenly there was something. And that something is the light. And if the dark could prevail over the light, then the light would have never became into existence to begin with. And as we all sit here and live and breathe, we are examples of how the light will always overtake the dark with little effort. The light, the higher vibratory fields, the light, whatever you want to call it, they don't create through will. They don't create through effort. They create through allowance, and they create without even knowing they're creating. And when things pop up in their existence, they understand that that is part of their creation, and they're going to allow it to be exactly what it is and experience it for what it is, and then move on. I don't know if I really need another card, but let's see if anything comes out. Give me a little more information about the Ace of Pentacles and the Six of Cups. The Ace of Pentacles in reverse and the Six of Cups. Yeah, that's why I feel like this message, I pulled this card because it just repeated that one, because I really didn't need to pull another card, but that's okay. I just wanted to reiterate. The one are all and the all are one. Let's see. Give me another card. Really? I mean, I feel like that's a lot of cards. Oh, it's two. Okay. So we got the Knight of Pentacles and Death and Rebirth, Transformation. Just to show you up close, the Knight of Pentacles and the Death card, Death and Rebirth. I mean, this could be said that there's a nebula there. And this could be said that this is an example of a nebula because there's pentacles there which look like planets and there's stars. So I think I probably say this in just about every single tarot reading that I've recorded. Your reality depends on your perspective. And your perspective is what you will experience. And it's up to you what you decide to see and experience. So the Knight of Pentacles, again, this may be talking about a person or a situation that's either you're currently dealing with and in your life or that will be in your life soon. But it's in the reverse as the other knight. The Knight of Pentacles is the slowest moving knight of the deck, but he is the one that you can count on. He is the reliable one. He's like the turtle versus the hare, slow and steady wins the race. Oh yeah, I see it again, talking about your bigger self fractalizing into different yous, different fractals. And look, it's coming from the nebula. It almost looks like she's looking in that direction and making it. So I feel like this is saying that whether your perspective is of the fractal, which I feel like it's not because it's in the reverse, so we'll just say that, or if it's coming from a place of realizing your true abilities and what you really are, which is everything, it doesn't change how important these type of experiences are, because every now is worth having or else you wouldn't have it. So to put that in terms that might be more generalized, is every moment of your life is valid because it exists. If it wasn't valid, it wouldn't be a thing, because there are no mistakes in creation. And life is not about, the Pentacles is all about money and material wealth and things like that. And when you came from source, you were everything. And you fractalized and came down to this realm to feel like you were minuscule and feel like you lacked and feel like you needed to do things to feel this lack. But the lack actually comes from the deep knowing of knowing what you really are, and a part of you remembers that you didn't lack for anything or need anything or want anything or were anything. That was, when it was nothing. It really wasn't nothing. It was love. Like love in the purest form that could possibly be. Like when we experience love here on earth, it's literally just a fractal of 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 a fractal, and so on and so forth, of how literally love is everything. Love is consciousness. Love is God. And in our current form, it's hard for us to really wrap our minds around that, because it's not something just for your mind. It's a hard concept to really understand, because it's not about understanding, it's about feeling. It's about feeling how it changes you, feeling how it makes you understand that this one thing that you looked at in a very specific way could literally be looked at in 500 bajillion trillion ways. And each way that you looked at it would be absolutely true and valid and worth experiencing it. And this is talking about a time of death. Death and rebirth is transformation, and knowing that at the end is a new beginning, and you are eternal and everything is eternal. Nothing really ever ends, it just changes. Okay. And then the last two cards here we have are the Eight of Pentacles in reverse, and paired with that is the Eight of Swords. The figure eight looks like an eternity symbol, and we got one in the opposite direction facing the other one. So I just saw a snowflake in my head. The universe is your mirror. And I say that all the time, but like, here it is. Here it is. You know? Sec. The universe is your mirror. So the Eight of Pentacles, with it being in the reverse, I feel like this is saying, like, you're not taking reality that's, well, not that you're not taking reality that's serious, but you're having fun with it. You realize that if you make a mistake now, it is what it is, and it's not really a mistake. It's an experience. And if you chose to have it, then that's what it was. And once it's done, you move on from it. The Eight of Pentacles in the upright talks about really focusing on your work and being like really dedicated to that, and not being distracted by different things going on because you're just so enthralled with what you're doing, and you're just putting your all into it because it's a reflection of who you are, which I literally just said about the universe is your reflection. But I feel like with it being in the reverse, it's saying that you understand that we didn't come here to work our asses off and that's all there is to it. And more with everything going on in our society and our reality, and not just in the US, but all over the world, people are waking up so fast because it only takes a little bit of light to run the show, to override the desperation and the depression and the darkness. But people face the dark and they come back, and then they understand on some deeper level that darkness wasn't able to take over them, that darkness really had no power, and the only power it had is the power that we gave it. Again, talking about this card and what I said about addiction. When you say you're an addict, you're saying you have no power over this thing outside of you, which I do not agree with. It's okay to hope, but if all you have is hope, then you're literally saying that you don't have any power and everything is out of your control. And that is not true. It's just simply not true. Everything is in your control. Now, there are things in reality when I say everything's in your control. Like I wake up every day and like I look like me. At least that's what my memory tells me, because if time isn't real, which I believe quantum sciences have clearly explained that it isn't real, and it's something that I have recently come to understand. Um, every time I wake up is literally a new now. Um, in any case, when I wake up, I have a body, right? Um, I'm existing in an environment. I have the equipment physically to exist within that environment. You know, I have lungs and blood and a heartbeat and um, all that. Okay, so yes, we create all that, but that's just like, what's that word? I heard background radiation. Um, that's not the fun stuff. That's just like when you're painting a picture, like you gotta have something to paint the picture on, right? You gotta have a canvas, right? It's just a canvas. And it's up to you what you put on that canvas. It's up to you if you're going to put anything on that canvas. Maybe you're going to burn that canvas. Maybe you're going to cut it up into shreds. Maybe you're just going to let it sit there and collect dust. Maybe you're not going to do anything with it. Maybe you'll see it in the store and just walk right past it. There's so many things that you could choose to do, but it's your choice to do with it what you will, and that's what we create, the choices that you make. And that is, I feel, what this card is talking about, interference. Now, this card specifically with this deck goes on about, like especially social media and like trying to get people to see things your way, and then running into all these um, intersections where it's basically saying that any reasonable person can argue both sides of any position and have valid points. And that's why I go back to, it's up to you how you want to experience your reality and live that. So I feel like this is saying, again, talking about allowing others to think what they want and feel what they want because they're going to anyway, and not letting that interfere with your joy, because it's not about work, it's about joy. Because you can work and it be a joyful thing, but when all your focus is only on your work, that means you're only focusing on outside of you. And the thing that's important in this existence is you, because you are all that is. And this isn't about, I mean, that's part of the game, to focus on things outside of you, but that's just to make you realize that it's a mirror showing you yourself, so that you can see yourself, so that you can go back within and see that all of the knowledge where you came from that dark place. People automatically assume that the dark is bad. No, the dark isn't bad. It's just not bright. And that doesn't mean anything in particular. It just means it's different. And again, I'm thinking about black holes, because black holes, if you were on the inside of the black hole looking out, it would be bright. If you were on the outside of the black hole looking in, it would be dark. It's literally your perspective of the same thing. And neither is false, but they are completely different. They all exist together simultaneously. And what I pulled out was the Page of Wands in reverse. So pages are usually like an immature energy. The Page of Wands is like being really passionate and exuberant, and a lot of explosive energy and creativity. But this is talking about stuff that doesn't really go anywhere. Like she's throwing the wand. She's throwing the wand up in the air and it's just coming back down. You know, that's what gravity does. I'm gonna put this over here, so I don't know if that's cutting it off over on the other side. With this being in the reverse, so like this card in the reverse is basically saying like you're more focused on like a playful aspect of it and like having fun with it versus being like super serious and like really really focused on this one thing, where you're just kind of like, yeah, you're doing it and you're having fun doing it, but you're not like being too like serious about it, and that's not the only thing that you're paying attention to, because that's just the one now. Because as soon as you hit an intersection, you have a choice and you can go any direction you want to go. Every time you make a choice, you hop a timeline. Every time you make a choice, you go in a new direction, and it's not right or it's wrong, it's just the direction you chose to go in. So I feel like with this being in the reverse, the Page of Wands is talking about, you know, really utilizing your logic, probably to your detriment, like here, because you found, at least your experiences so far, is that when you give too much into your passions, it leaves you with starting over, which can happen when you make a choice. You might have to start over, but that doesn't mean that it's bad or good. It just means that that's what the situation is because of the choices that you made. And look at how that, look at the colors that match. She's like, hey, Death, sup? So I feel like this is just talking about being like a little more mature about your perception of how to handle reality, and not really coming at it from a judgmental standpoint, but really taking it for what it is and not getting too caught up in the moment. Like, you experience your nows when they're happening, but when you come to a juncture where you realize you need to make a choice, you know, you don't just leave it up to chance. There's nothing like, allowance doesn't mean that you don't have any say-so in what's happening in your life and your experiences. Allowance is just saying that you accept things for what they are, and you try to appreciate it for what it is, and even if it's good or bad, you know, you just try to grapple it and make the most of it. You don't try to force your will to change it because you found that that's not worth your energy, because you can have an experience by forcing your will and changing something, and it could be a worthwhile experience. But I feel like this is saying that you've done that and you're over that. You're over that immature energy, and you trust that the universe is giving you exactly what you need because it is your mirror. So even if it's something that you don't like and you don't want to see, if you acknowledge it and try to understand what it means, you can look somewhere else and your reflection will change. And life is not all about work, but it's not all about play either. It's not all about just being super passionate and not having any direction. You have to realize that every choice that you make will lead you to your next now. Now, your next now could be in the future, it could be in the past. Time isn't a factor here, but your perspective is. And I just want a final, may have a final message for the reading. Final message is the Two of Wands. Two of Wands and upright is all about choosing your comfort or choosing an adventure. Again, the choice is up to you what your reality will be. There's no right, there's no wrong. If you choose your comfort, then that is what you will experience. If you choose an adventure, you might encounter things that you weren't prepared for. But does that make it wrong? I mean, if you choose your comfort, you can definitely encounter things that you didn't prepare for, because we're not half-ass creators, right? Right, Roxy? So even if you choose your comfort versus an adventure, your higher self will not let you down, and you will have an adventure anyway. It may or may not be amazing. I don't know. I guess it depends on your perspective. But I feel like this is saying, like, the final message is just really ease up on yourself. Give yourself a little more leeway. Don't be so harsh on yourself in this journey, because everything that we've experienced was worth experiencing, or else we wouldn't have experienced it. Whether it be in a negative light or a positive light. And also, I feel like this is touching on the current state of what's happening, where people are thinking about what's going on and maybe afraid to go outside because they're afraid they're going to get sick. They're afraid they're going to have a bad experience. They're afraid they're going to have a bad adventure. And I feel like this is saying it's okay if you feel safer where you are and that's where you want to stay. Because there's always the opportunity to change that. You can always choose to do something else. I heard somebody say, the great thing about being weak is you can always gain